The Employer Nomination Scheme, Subclass 186, is a permanent residency visa for skilled workers who are sponsored by an Australian employer to fill a position in Australia. This visa allows applicants to live and work in Australia permanently, and it is designed for individuals who have the skills required by Australian employers. The Subclass 186 visa is a permanent visa that allows skilled workers to live and work in Australia if they are nominated by an Australian employer. There are three main streams for the Subclass 186 visa: Temporary Residence Transition, TRT, stream, Direct Entry stream, and Agreement stream. The eligibility requirements for the Subclass 186 visa depend on the stream you are applying for. Below are the general requirements that apply to all applicants. You must be nominated by an Australian employer who is an approved sponsor. The employer must demonstrate that they have a genuine need for a skilled worker to fill a specific position. You must be under 45 years of age at the time of application unless you are exempt, such as applying under the Temporary Residence Transition stream or having certain qualifications or skills. You must have the necessary qualifications and skills for the nominated occupation, usually proven through a skills assessment by the relevant assessing authority and proof of relevant work experience. You must meet the English language proficiency requirement, which is typically competent English, usually a score of at least 6 in each component of IELTS or equivalent tests. You and your family members must meet the health and character requirements, which include undergoing a medical examination and providing police clearance certificates. Applicants who are in Australia on a temporary visa may need to prove that they are not using the visa as a backdoor to permanent residency, unless they are applying under the TRT stream. The Temporary Residence Transition stream is for applicants who are currently in Australia on a temporary skill shortage or temporary work visa and have worked for their sponsoring employer for at least 3 years in the nominated occupation. Applicants must meet the age requirement unless exempt, and the nominated position must be at the same skill level as the position held under the temporary visa. This stream is the most common pathway for individuals transitioning from a temporary visa to permanent residency. The direct entry stream is for applicants who do not meet the temporary residence transition stream requirements, have a skills assessment for the nominated occupation, and are either applying from outside Australia or have not worked for their sponsor for the required 3 years. This stream is commonly used for people who are newly nominated by an employer and have not been working for them under a temporary visa. The agreement stream is for applicants who are sponsored by an employer through a labour agreement with the Australian government. Labour agreements are made between the Australian government and employers to fill labour shortages in certain industries, and this stream applies to workers nominated under these agreements. The application process for the Subclass 186 visa begins with the employer submitting a nomination for the applicant, demonstrating the need for a skilled worker for the position. The employer must meet certain obligations, including proving that they are a genuine business and have no adverse history in relation to immigration compliance. Once the nomination is approved, the applicant can submit their visa application for the Subclass 186 visa, including all required documents such as proof of qualifications, work experience, English proficiency, and any skills assessment reports. The application fee for the Subclass 186 visa can vary but is generally around AUD 4,040. Processing times for the Subclass 186 visa can vary, generally taking anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to process, depending on the stream you are applying under and the complexity of your application. Once your application is approved, you will be granted a permanent residency visa, allowing you to live and work in Australia indefinitely. The Subclass 186 visa provides permanent residency in Australia, which means you can live, work, and study in Australia indefinitely. You have the right to work and study anywhere in Australia once you are granted permanent residency. As a permanent resident, you are eligible for Medicare, Australia's public healthcare system, which provides access to subsidized medical care. After living in Australia for at least 4 years as a permanent resident, you may be eligible to apply for Australian citizenship, subject to meeting other requirements. You can include eligible family members in your application, allowing them to also obtain permanent residency. The processing time for the subclass 186 visa can vary based on several factors, such as the stream you are applying under, the complexity of the case, and the completeness of your application and supporting documents. The temporary residence transition stream can take around 6 to 12 months, the direct entry stream may take around 6 to 18 months, and the agreement stream can take longer, depending on the specifics of the labor agreement. Key challenges include the employer needing to meet specific obligations and demonstrate the need for the worker, which can be challenging for some businesses to prove, the requirement for a skills assessment for the direct entry stream, and the English language proficiency requirement, which may be challenging for those who do not have strong English skills. The Employer Nomination Scheme, Subclass 186, is an excellent pathway for skilled workers to gain permanent residency in Australia, especially for those who are already working in Australia on temporary visas, or who are nominated by employers in sectors with skill shortages. The process requires a nomination from an Australian employer and meeting the relevant eligibility criteria.